Call the meeting to order. Leesburg City Commission meeting. Today's date is Monday, August 8th, 2022. Please stand for the invocation and pledge. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your many blessings. We pray that you continue to bless this community and this great city. Please guide and direct this commission, our staff, this team as we work together tonight to make our city better. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have no proclamations tonight, no proclamations, but we do have some presentations to the ladies on the front row. So first one, Miss Leesburg, Megan Goodrich.
She's waiting.
We're just going to give individually.
Okay. Team Miss Leesburg, Reese Collins. Junior Miss Leesburg, McKenna Ritchie. Little Miss Leesburg, Allison Carter. And Tiny Miss Leesburg, Hartley Sellers.
There you go. Bring it on down.
Thank you, ladies. Congratulations.
So hi, as most of you just heard, I'm Teen Miss Leesburg, Reese Ponds, and it has been an honor and a great pleasure and privilege to serve our amazing city this past year. And the lessons I've learned will definitely stick with me as I go throughout the rest of high school and the rest of my life. I look forward to continue to serve my community after my title is over. Thank you for all your support and your faith in me. And I would like to thank Miss Linda Watts for everything she's done for us and for our youth. I was born and raised in Leesburg, so no matter where I go, this will always be my home. So thank you so much.
Good evening. I am Miss Leesburg, Megan Goodridge. 35 years ago, Miss Linda Watts came to the City Commissioner meeting and asked for the privilege to be able to use the city name as well as presented her ideas. This was just the beginning of the Miss Leesburg Scholarship Program. It has been a great success, and you've probably seen us all throughout your community. She loves to keep us busy and always on our toes. We've always had your support, and it is such a pleasure being able to represent our town. The Miss Leesburg Scholarship Program has two important goals. The first one being to always represent and give back to our community no matter what we are doing, as well as being great role models. Miss Linda believes that if we volunteer now, it will follow us throughout our whole lives. Our second goal is expressing the importance of education within a scholarship program. Miss Leesburg is a nonprofit program, so all of our funds are raised. Any funds that we have is given out to boys and girls all throughout our community for senior scholarships. This year, we've given out 8 scholarships, 2 to students at Leesburg High School, 3 to students at First Academy High School, and as well as 3 to students at the Villages Charter High School. It is such an honor to receive this award tonight from the Mayor and the City Commissioner. I am so proud to be able to represent the town I was born and raised in and be your Miss Leesburg. Thank you.
No, thank you, ladies. I have to comment, as mayor, I've had to attend a lot of events so far this year, and I can tell you Miss Leesburg and Teen Miss Leesburg have been at every event. It's been great. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. And thank you. We're going to leave. Is that okay?
Okay. No, thank you very much.
We'll all go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
That's great. That's fun. What's that? Yeah, I know. Okay, moving on to public comments. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future City Commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Hi, Joni Smalley. I'm the Executive Director of the Leesburg Partnership. I just wanted to let y'all know that the Board of Directors approved last Thursday that we will be doing a 3-day Bike Fest, April 28th through the 30th. We're obviously still ironing out details, but just wanted to let you all know that is the plan going forward in the 22-23 season. Thank you.
Thank you, Joni.
Good evening, Dr. Jasper. I just want to give kudos to Al and Cliff for a job well done in getting the fence taken care of at Berry Park. It's going up and it's so beautiful, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from some of the residents in that community. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and to the CRA board. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here to extend an invitation to the Forward Paths Luncheon to you. The topic, we've not been able to have it the last 2 years due to COVID, so this will be our first opportunity to update the public, and the hot topic this year is the completion of our renovation in Eustis and our future tiny home project. So I appreciate especially now, the relationship that we've had with the city of Leesburg. Currently, we house 19 youth throughout Leesburg, and this gives them the opportunity to go to school and continue their education and develop work skills. Thank you. And I'll leave these here.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Don Friend. I'm the owner of a property at 1023 McNamee Street. I attended this meeting 2 weeks ago and brought up an issue regarding drug and alcohol-fueled parties that occur every Sunday night. And I just wanted to follow up with the commission and ask what kind of progress are we having as far as getting this addressed? These parties are still occurring. I have photos of just dozens of vodka bottles, alcohol bottles, blunt wrappers, lots of drug paraphernalia. All this is happening at a children's park, and I think that this is something that should be important and should be addressed. I did meet with the chief of police. After meeting with the chief, my interpretation of our meeting was that he either did not have the resources to address this properly or did not have the support of the commission to address this. And so I'd like to ask for the commission's help in getting this addressed.
And I'm going to turn to our city manager for help here, but what are the hours this is going on Sunday night?
My understanding is that this is predominantly in the late afternoon. This probably starts around 5. My understanding is that it gets extremely busy around 8. It's so popular and it's not a infrequent event that Google has even recognized on the park page that Sunday night at 6 o'clock is one of the most popular times to be there. And so this is a parking lot full of cars. I have pictures. I'd like to submit them to you. And the music is so loud that the occupants of the apartments that I rent out there cannot even hear themselves inside, which obviously causes quite a disruption to the residents.
And I'm looking at our city manager here. Don't you have to have a permit pull a permit for an event of this size?
Typically, yes. So, and that's something, it's probably just best I'll catch with you after. Let me get your information, and we'll have a conversation about, getting in touch with the PD when the events are going on. I'm assuming you're doing that?
It happens every Sunday. Every police officer I've spoken with is very well aware of these events. This is not something...
From the police department?
I'm sorry?
Are you getting response from the police department? Do they come out and shut the party down?
My understanding last time was that if they sent 2 officers, that would represent a significant portion of their patrolling force, and they would be outnumbered by the number of people there. And I think this has become a problem that has festered because it has not been addressed, and it's continued to grow in size, and really no one's done anything about it for quite a while.
Again, I think that I'll get with the gentleman and with the chief.
I've been told by one police officer that it was up to 500 people. What I've seen with my own eyes, I drove by for the past 2 weeks. It was canceled last night for rain, apparently. But when I drove by, it was probably between 50 to 75 people were there. It causes a significant disruption to the businesses with all the cars, the music, the trash, and I feel bad for the kids that have to go to the park and they see all this drug paraphernalia and alcohol bottles all over the place.
I mean, is it an organized event, or is this something?
It's called Park and Chill, apparently. I don't know who organizes it, but the police are very well aware of it. They apparently migrate from this particular spot to other spots, and I guess they go wherever they're able to go. And so I'm not sure why they're being able to go here.
I would be interested in seeing what you do have picture-wise.
Yes, I can. What's the process for submitting the photos on the USB?
I'm going to hand everything you have to Captain Mack, and he's going to get your name, phone number, and you'll get a call from me. We'll set up a meeting.
Okay, thank you.
No, I told you last meeting, we'll get it right. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Just one question now. In our other parks...
Give it to Captain Scott Mack.
Okay.
In our other parks, in 10 o'clock, we shut the gates, or, could we put a
to 10 is typically the
10 o'clock cap at this park also, potentially?
And, and if we're not going to interfere if people gather, and as long as they're assembled peacefully, yes, you're supposed to have, if you have a recognized event, you're supposed to have a permit for that. But on the other hand, we're not going to, if you're peacefully gathered, we're not going to stop that. But obviously the issues that have come up are of significance, I do think we have support. It's not an easy answer, but you will hear from me, and we'll meet with Chief, and we'll give this the support it needs to correct.
Okay, thank you.
No, I mean, an event of this size, I mean, they need to be bound to the permits and, the proper process, I would think. Okay.
I had a quick question just to piggyback off what Commissioner Berry said about the park hours. I know we're having the same issue at Berry Park. There is a sign posted that states the park hours from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. I know historically, I guess they've been sunrise to sunset. Is it possible that we can get that changed back to sunrise to sunset? Because 10 p.m. is very late for some of the residents that live in the Carver Heights neighborhood, and you also have some of the same problems and some of the same issues. And I think of some of the senior citizens that live in that area that have medical issues and have problems going to sleep because of the noise and all the congregation of people who don't even live in the neighborhood. So I was just wondering, how can we go about getting that changed?
I think that's something we can talk about. I think the commission will need to act on that, but let us meet and determine if we want to bring that recommendation to you. But
okay,
we hear your suggestion.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commission staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. Pull the items from the consent agenda, then vote on remaining items with one roll call, and discuss each item and vote by roll call. Any items the commission would like to pull this evening? If none,
5C3.
5C3. I'll take a motion to approve the remaining items on consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Would someone please introduce 5C3?
Introduced, has to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the adoption of the revised collection, development, and management policy for the Leesburg Public Library and providing an effective date.
Move for approval. So, I don't have any problems with the policy. I think it's very well written. I was honestly just curious, do we have people that actually come in and file complaints about the things you got in the library?
I'm not in the last 12 years.
Okay. Just curious.
Good
Thanks.
answer.
That was it.
That was it. Any other comments? Okay. Any public comments? Okay, thank you. Any public comments? If none, roll call.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Moving on to public hearings and non-routine items. 6A, 1, 2, and 3 were withdrawn today by the applicant. So moving on now to need to have someone introduce 6A4, and I guess I need to announce this is now a quasi-judicial hearing.
Yes, sir, that's right. Good evening, everybody. If anyone's here, city staff or applicant or anyone in the audience who plans to provide any testimony on items 6A4, if you would please stand and raise your right hand so you can be sworn in.
Oh, my goodness.
And I guess we'll do 6A5 and 6 as well, if everybody's standing now. Do you swear or affirm that all testimony you'll give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So if somebody would please introduce 6A4.
Introduced, has to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, modifying the existing zoning of PUD planned unit development on approximately 214.84 acres for property generally located east and west of U.S. Highway 27 and north of Florida's Turnpike, as legally described in Section 1, Township 21 South, Range 24 East, and Section 6, Township 21 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Dan, do you have a presentation? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning Director. The only thing I had to say comes up at the PUD, but I think we often discuss these as a whole. At the last meeting, Commissioner Burry requested that we would add the dark sky lighting, trees in each yard, the standard roadway dedications. I did faithfully execute that on the wrong document. So when I pulled my packet, that's when I found it. And so what I'm going to request is that you allow us to put that in to the documents prior to giving it back to the city clerk. It's the standard wording we use on all of them. If that pleases the commission, then when we get to the PUD,
Yeah, that's fine.
we'll do that. But I apologize.
That's fine, Dan. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Yes, on 4, it doesn't appear that the prohibited uses were inserted.
That was part of the changes that I made on the wrong document. There were some prohibited uses that were to include tattoo parlors and
Okay, all right. Okay,
and
that's also in that. Okay.
Yes, sir. That's part of that change. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
But that just wrong documents, all it was.
Got it.
And Dan, what was the, just to refresh my memory, what was the Planning and Zoning Commission's opinion on this?
The Planning Commission approved 6-0.
Okay.
It's basically just a revision to the existing PUD out there right now. What they're asking for on this 214 acres is to decrease the density, change a few lot numbers in there, and decrease the actual number of commercial square feet. And then we do have Tara Tedrow from Lowndes Dostrick Cantor Law Firm in Orlando who can make a presentation if you would like to see that.
Yes, I think we told them at the first reading that we would have them do it on the second reading.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good evening. Tara Tedrow, Lowndes Law, 215 North Eola Drive, Orlando, Florida. I will go through the presentation. If there's any questions at the end, I'm happy to answer them. And this will not be as long as perhaps some you've seen me do before. All right. All right. Let me see. Oh, here we go. So this aerial shows you where the site is located. It's a total of 214.84 vacant acres comprised of 3 parcels. About 19.5 acres of the total subject property are for stormwater management, and the wetlands on our site are not going to be impacted by our development. Currently, we have a future land use of low density and general commercial, which correspond to the areas where we would have residential and commercial uses on site. We're not requesting any comprehensive plan change tonight. It's simply a rezoning from PUD to PUD. Under your comp plan, general commercial future land use is meant to encourage economic activity, local employment opportunities, allows for a variety of retail, convenience, entertainment, personal business, and other professional services, and it encourages those developments along major roadway corridors. In addition, parcel 3 of our plan is currently being planned out with a Florida-based grocery store to anchor a shopping center, and we are also in discussions with a sit-down restaurant concept as well as some other restaurants that would be inside. That was one of the things your staff brought up very early, is the desire to see some more restaurant opportunities, especially in this area. So those are the discussions that we are having pending approval tonight. The low-density future land use portion of the property would permit up to 8 dwelling units per gross acre. That was also permitted under the prior PUD. We are at 3.34 dwelling units an acre, so significantly below what that overall dwelling unit per acre count would allow. And that future land use is intended to encourage design and development of various types of residential dwellings, which are provided on our plan, and it contemplates compatible commercial and other non-residential uses, especially adjacent to higher capacity roadways, which this project will certainly provide that great mix of different uses in a walkable community that still provides for good buffering between the commercial and the residential uses on our site. As noted, the zoning is currently PUD, and so the request is to rezone from PUD to PUD. Per the site plan that would be attached to that PUD ordinance, showing 718 residential units and 164,000 square feet of commercial, and the breakdown between the different parcels as to where the commercial would go. On both sides of 27, we do have commercial components that would be anchoring the different types of residential product that we have. All of those residential communities that we're building on site come with their own amenities to be supportive of each each of those different residential areas on the parcels. And as noted, that overall density is 3.34 dwelling units an acre, as I noted, well below the 8 per acre that's currently allowed. In terms of additional site details, there's a minimum of 13.6 acres of active recreation and amenities, and about 60 acres of other open space that is also provided on site. This was noted in the Planning Commission hearing. There's a developer that had asked if we would be willing to deed some property to them so that they can have a future access connection point. And we said that we would be happy to deed that property over to them so they can have future connectivity. I think it's a good planning strategy, good for future transportation issues as well. That was something that we put on the record previously, had that discussion with staff. We've had that discussion with that developer. Again, that's pending tonight's approval. In terms of a data comparison of the prior approved PUD from 2017, you can see that there's different counts of what the single-family, multifamily townhome units were. Again, it's a reduction in the dwelling units per acre and a reduction in the number of units total on the site, and a significant reduction in terms of the commercial that was otherwise planned for the property, which you'll see on our other slides corresponds to a significant decrease in transportation impacts as well. So on our trip generation comparison, you can see that those total comparison numbers are far below in terms of AM peak hour and PM peak hour trip generation between what was previously approved and what we have now. So about 30,000 less trips a day would come by virtue of a reduction in the residential, but most importantly, that significant reduction in the commercial square footage. Here are some conceptual renderings. There are architectural standards outlined in the PUD, which is customary, but these were just some preliminary renderings that had been submitted to the city as part of our project. And your staff had outlined different standards of support, which were from your GMP as well as your code policies, that we are going to add residential and non-residential features that would further the visions of your GMP by providing a diverse array of housing options, non-residential uses strategically located to provide walkable services and commercial options, designed to ensure appropriate buffering and setbacks are in place, and that we would help serve the city's anticipated future growth, along with, I won't read these verbatim, I promise, different objectives from your GMP about protecting and diversifying housing, sustainable development, and land use compatibility, all of which were analyzed by your staff and determined that we met, as well as transportation and land use compatibility as well. So your staff made some findings about why they were recommending approval of this project. We had a unanimous recommendation as well from your Planning Commission. So barring any questions or concerns that you may have, we would also request your approval tonight of PUD 22-215.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from the commission?
Yeah, I just had one. The PUD that we saw said 481, but I didn't see. Your numbers look like it was more like 700 or something.
So the PUD, every iteration of the PUD showed in the background section, it outlined the numbers. And so I don't know if exhibit, okay.
See, it looked like to me when I read the PUD, we were going from 481 units to 718. But your number said we're actually going down?
Right. So the comparison data table, let me pull this for you. So the prior PUD to the new PUD, and this is also in your Exhibit E to the ordinance. So the new PUD tonight had 292 single-family, 288 multifamily, 138 townhome units.
Right.
So total residential on the prior PUD was 764. Total residential on the new one is 718. So it's a reduction of both the density as well as the intensity of the prior approved development.
Okay. I just missed that.
Okay. Any other comments? Any public comments? Just please come forward. Just state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Lisa Christie. I'm at 5720 Great Egret Drive in Leesburg. And I just want to make a point. I appreciate your time in advance. I want to make a point that our property, White Marsh, is a subdivision which borders this property. The map's not up there right now, but we're on the northwest portion of this. And I'm going to read this to you so I don't get off track here, but it's going to be brief. I would hope that the scope of the buyer's development plans take our small subdivision into consideration. We do border the northwest portion of Leiden-Nicholson property, and we hold a controlling interest about 3/5 in the small cove and peninsula at the northwest corner of that property. Our community also stretches out into the marsh about 410 yards going due south, bordering them, and through that cove from Great Egret Drive and crossing the small peninsula into Dilly Marsh. Our wetland area is governed by the St. John River Water Management District. Florida Statute 704.06, Lake County Clerk of Official Court Records, Book 3395, page 2235, and as such, our foliage and wildlife are protected and preserved in these areas. A good number of protected, threatened, and endangered species live in these wetlands and the surrounding area year-round. This includes about 22 non-migratory Florida sandhill cranes who mate for life about 20 to 30 years in the wild. One particular mated Florida sandhill crane couple roost in this very cove that borders them and that we own 3/5 of an interest in. They roost there every year and raise their chicks and colts there and teach them to fly in the Leiden-Nicholson pasture. There is another crane couple that lives on the southwest side and of Dilly Marsh, and they also share that pasture for training their colts to fly. Human intervention, presence, or lack thereof has a major effect on these cranes' behavior patterns and survival. Of course, some things are going to have to change, but this is what is happening now. I am hoping that the wildlife and foliage, including the beautiful, pristine oak hammock and the Leiden-Nicholson side of the cove's shoreline, will be also protected and preserved as they are on the White Marsh side. It would also be nice if the few large lone oaks and palms in the pasture could be spared from developers' leveling. Preserving these areas and respecting the wildlife will make a more appealing environment and selling point for buyers, in my humble opinion. That's all I have. I think it's great what they're doing. I have no objection. I just wanted to add this concern.
Okay. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comments? If none, roll call.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Would someone please introduce 6A5?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 32.86 plus minus acres from City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development to City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development to replace 208 townhouses with 83 detached single-family residential units for property generally located north of Sunnyside Drive and west of Fern Drive, as legally described in Section 30, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Move approval.
Second.
So I'm looking at Dan Miller. I think he has a brief presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the, Sunnyside Oaks. A quick summary. This is a revision to an existing PUD. The current PUD allowed an option of either 208 townhomes or 53 single families. So staff worked with the new developer, new buyer, and came up with what amounts to a maximum of 76 units. I think we started off at 83, and it came down in the actual site plan to 76 was what they could fit in there. And all the lot sizes would be 60 feet, so they're 6,000 square foot lots, minimum 1,700 square feet house, architectural standards, 2-car garages, 25-foot landscape buffer, and this time the 35% open space and transportation, everything's in there. There is a recreation space and dark sky lighting requirements. So it's actually, in staff's opinion, a better deal than 208 townhomes on this same property, which was done several years ago. And this will lock it down at single family.
And just for clarification, Dan, in the agenda here says 83. You just said 76.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
be sure we're approving the right number.
76 is what's in the
76,
PUD.
okay.
This was written when we first were working with them and came up with the 83 number, but what they could get on the actual site plan was 76.
Okay, the PUD may be correct. I'm just looking
Yes,
at the
sir.
agenda has
And it was
83
just
on it. Okay.
didn't get the typo.
Okay, no, we're good.
And a question about entry onto Sunnyside. Is that going to create a 4-way there instead of the 3-way?
We didn't get an answer back on that.
It looked like from the diagram that was submitted
Yes, sir.
In the packet that was the case, but just the residents just are curious.
Yes, sir. And I have not heard back from Lake County. Do you want me to call you as soon as I hear from them so that you can let them know? Because it's Lake County roads and we don't have any authority, but we can encourage them. I'll call Seth again and see if he'll look at that.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Did the developer have any presentation or comments? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Dave Schmidt Engineering in Orlando. We agree with staff's recommendation. Thank you, Dan and Candy, for working with us. Regarding the access, we actually, on the current plans, and we almost have final plans done, the entrance is actually pushed to the west. So it's away from that triangular intersection mess that's there.
Down the hill.
Yep. Yes, exactly.
Kind of where the existing gate is right now.
Correct. Correct. Yep. And we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
I'm good. Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank
Just
you.
one. Yeah, and this property lies on that north side of Sunnyside Drive, so there was no opposition from the property
Sunnyside
owners out there
residents.
for this development.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Any other comments from the commission? If none, any public comments? If none, roll call.
Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Would someone please introduce 6A6?
Introduced and has to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 280 plus-minus acres for property generally located south of Florida's Turnpike and east of County Road 33, lying in sections 34 and 35, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Do you have any comments, Dan? Okay, thank you.
Quick summary on this one, Mr. Mayor. It's 280 acres south side of Turnpike and east of County Road 33. There are 561 units proposed. It's entirely single-family residential. The density on this is 2.0 units per acre. The lot sizes are mixed with 50 and 60-foot widths, which equal out to 5,500 and 6,600. Of those 561, you have 300 and I believe it's 390 lots are 50s and 171 are 60s, and then respectively they'll have 1,600 square feet under roof and 1,800 square feet under roof minimum based on the lot size. Two-car garages, divided boulevard-style entrance off of US 33. And again, the tree requirements, 2 trees in each yard, 35% open space, dark sky lighting, 2.6 acres recreational area, which I think they far exceed on this. Mr. Tony Iorio and Mr. Ben Snyder are here. They may wish to make a presentation if it pleases the commission.
Okay, yeah, they're welcome to. Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Clicker. Oh, there it is. It was hiding. Sorry about that. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Andrew McCown, and I'm with GAI Consultants. We're an engineering and planning group out of Orlando. Our address is 618 East South Street. I have a presentation I'll go quickly through tonight. And at the end of that presentation, there are several items in the current version of the ordinance that you have that we do want to go over in a little bit more detail. So if you have any questions, we have the team here tonight from representatives from Hanover, as well as the traffic engineer. You're well aware of who Hanover is and their history in this community, so I won't go through this. But as you can see, the surrounding area for the project, there's a lot going on in this area, as you're well aware. This project is located along the County Road 33 corridor, and you can see the Florida Turnpike here. 2 projects currently in the works here, with Banning Ranch having already an approved PD, 243 units, and then across the street is our Battaglia project. So it was annexed in 2007, and at that time it was given a future land use of neighborhood mixed use and a zoning of RE1. The neighborhood mixed use has a max density of 4 DUs per acre, even though the RE1 only has 1 DU per acre max. And we understand that at that time, the RE1 was essentially a placeholder, and the intent was to rezone at some point in the future at the time of development for something more appropriate. And there's a map of the existing future land use and the zoning. And tonight we are requesting a rezone to PUD with the items that Dan mentioned, plus a couple others that we would like to discuss. 280.8 acres with a gross density of 2.0 units per acre, maximum 561 units. As Dan said, all single family with a mixture of 50s and 60s. There's 153.4 acres of open space and recreation, and that equates to 55% of the site. And as you'll see, a lot of that is, there are a lot of wetlands existing on the site which are being preserved, as well as a good bit of additional preservation. The original plan had a good bit of 40-foot lots, but as we've learned from previous projects, that we should probably remove those in favor of more 50s and 60s. And so that's what we've done. As you can see, just the natural flow of the site with the wetlands being on the exterior, the units are pretty concentrated towards the middle of the site and also against the turnpike. So there's actually no units that border the north and southern boundaries of the site, which is a pretty unique feature. To the southeast is a tree preservation area and floodplain preservation. There are some fantastic old trees in this area, as well in the northwest corner where there are some steep slopes. Some fantastic trees are getting preserved as part of this project. Here we have a graphic that kind of more easily shows the open space breakdown on the project. You can see in the dark green all the wetlands we have on the site, blue being retention, and then the light yellow or light green are parks and other preservation. And as I said, 153.4 acres of preservation total. As Dan mentioned, there are the additional provisions that were included in this PUD, including the dark sky and the additional canopy trees, Florida-friendly landscape. This is a typical amenity center that Hanover produces for their residents. And then we have some proposed home elevations, being both 50s and 60s. These are some of the 50s. And again, more 50s. Some of the 60s. For traffic, we have a graph showing the breakdown of traffic anticipated on this road. The peak hour, peak direction volumes on CR 33 would break down as such. The blue being the existing traffic that's on the road today. The kind of the light orange being the Banning Ranch project across the street, and the dark orange being the Battaglia project. And then the gray being the remaining capacity on the road after those two projects and the existing traffic are taken into consideration. So as I said, there are a couple of PUD conditions that we would like to discuss. These were discussed in the Planning Commission session as well, and we were able to talk through those with the commissioners. The first one is item 4D, and in that one you see the minimum side setback was set at 7.5, whereas in our original submittal we had put 5 feet, and the reason we would request the change back to 5 feet is that 5 feet is consistent with our previously approved projects that we've submitted over the last 5 years. And we understand the reason why staff suggested the wider setback, that the setback be increased, particularly on the 50-foot lots, which I think is what they really had in mind. When you do get those roof lines kind of close together, you can get some drainage issues if you don't have a well-engineered site. And so we understand that. And so as a as a way to combat that issue, what we have agreed to and what we discussed at the Planning Commission was to actually require gutters on all of the horizontal fascia for any of the homes that have less than a 5-foot setback. So if there's a 7.5-foot setback, no gutters would necessarily be required. If it's less than 7.5 feet, they would be required on those homes. And that would be specifically to combat those drainage issues that we know have been seen on other previous projects, not of Hanover, of course, but other projects in the city recently. The second one is item 6D, which is a requirement for a split rail fence or a 6-foot solid vinyl fence required for the full perimeter. And I think the real issue is the full perimeter. There are a lot of portions of the site that we feel, because of the design, because of the context, for instance, the wetlands and the ponds and the adjacency, we don't really feel there's the need for a fence around the full perimeter of the site. And so what we would propose is that the requirement be for the front up against County Road 33. And we would have the split rail fence there, and we do not believe that the other boundaries of the site would require that. And that's the conclusion of the presentation. We can take any questions you have.
Any questions or comments?
I did want to ask Dan something.
Okay. Okay, hang on. Jay, okay. Go ahead, Jay.
No, I have a question for Dan.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes, sir.
So, Dan, here we go. Dan, across the street, the Banning property?
Yes, sir.
Property lot sizes in there, do you know off the top of your head what we...
Exactly the same as what we have in here.
That's all I need to know.
Thank you. In the agenda memo, basically they came up with a twice. The first one was a motion to deny, and the next was a motion to approve, and it both came 3-3. The Planning Commission was talking about the property location and the lot sizes. They noted that they would prefer larger lots on property this far out. Now, with all due respect to the Planning Commission, staff recommended approval based on what we have here in this PUD, and I understand what they're asking for, but we also have other developments in the area that are showing the same lot sizes, like the one across the street, Banning Ranch. In addition, if I might say, we've discussed the issues that Andrew brought before you just now, and staff has no objection to that as far as the fencing, because they are right. When you have the large wetland or a large buffer like that, the fence, whether it's split rail or a solid fence, is really not necessary. We did the exact same thing on the Banning Ranch, where we pulled the fence off. And then staff would like to see, anytime there is a 5-foot setback, which gives you the 10 feet between the house, staff always wants to see the gutters on those. When you get to 7.5, that gives you 15 feet. What we're seeing is that the problem pretty much resolves itself. And I think we had talked about that previously, so staff has no objection to making those changes if you're happy with that.
And I had just a general question, trying to learn something here, and Ben may need to answer this one. But I'm curious how the 50-foot lots are selling in comparison to the 60s. I think you know where I'm going with this. I mean, what's the demand for the 50s? They appear to be doing well.
Sure. The demand for the 50s is really high, and there's a wider product band from 1,700 square feet up to 3,300 square feet, so you capture a really wide range of buyers on the 50-foot lots. On the 60-foot lots, you generally have larger houses with larger square footage and are slower absorbing.
Okay.
It's just, especially with the interest rates and stuff, those lots are not absorbing near as fast as the 50-foot lots.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Ben.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments from the commission?
I mean, so I'm okay with the project, but just kind of as we talk about, amending the all of our land codes, like I really like this particular style project where if they're going to go with the narrow lots, we get lots of big open space. So I think like that makes a lot of sense because people get the benefit of living in a community with a lot of open space, but then don't have the yards to maintain themselves. So, anyways, I think it's a great project, and I'm certainly. I guess we need to need to amend it to add all these back, right? Yeah. So, so make a motion to amend to accept the changes as proposed.
Second.
Okay. Any comments from the commission on that amendment? Comments? Any public comments?
Sorry, Dr. Jasper. I had one quick question. Maybe I missed this, and I apologize in advance. Is there like a buffer to prevent the noise coming from the traffic from the turnpike? I didn't see anything that mentioned in the presentation for the residents that's going to live in that community. I was just concerned about that.
So there is an enhanced buffer even beyond the requirement that's in the PD. I believe the buffer adjacent to the turnpike was planned to be 50 feet wide, as opposed to, I believe, the standard is 25 or 30 feet, 25 feet. So it's double the standard PD buffer size, and it would be vegetated also.
Okay. Any other public comments? If no other public comments, roll call. On the amendment.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Now, okay, thank you. Now, we had a motion, so now we need to approve the original.
So amended.
That's amended, yeah.
So I believe we have a motion. Any public comments on the original motion? If not, roll call.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Someone please introduce 6A7.
Introduce House Rep Title 1.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, providing for amendments of the city charter, amending Article 1, Section 5, relating to powers of the city, providing requisite ballot language for submission to electors, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the charter, providing for conflict, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Comments from the commission?
I just did have something I wrote down. With this type of change, we can borrow from the fund and pay it back if for some reason we needed the money.
Yes.
For some
That
catastrophic
Yes.
reason. But otherwise, we want to keep it at a 6% cap coming to the general fund.
Yes.
No, good question. Thank you. Any other comments from the commission?
Yeah, just say that the power issue we had last week, I think, is a good example of why it's nice to have a local utility. Is one, they got on it right away. We didn't have to call people from around the state to come work on our electric. And then I think more importantly for the residents is that they can get an answer like that night of what's going on. I mean, you imagine calling Duke at 10 p.m. and asking, which they did a great job helping us out with this, but if you're a utility customer asking them or SECO for an update on what's going on with your power, and you're not going to get it, but with the municipal, you get answers, and a lot of times that's all people want to know is like what happened. Do you have a rough idea what's going on? Not just my power's out and it'll be on in the next 48 to 72 hours.
Right. No, thank you for those comments. I was going to bring it up in the end. And thank staff for the great job they did. And like you, I was taking phone calls and text, and it was pretty impressive to have power back on in most of the city, 2.5 hours. So compliments to everybody. Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the commission? Public comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Moving on, first reading of ordinances, we have none. Non-routine items, none. Informational reports, none. City attorney items.
Don't have any specific report this evening. As I mentioned at our last meeting, I did go down to the Municipal Attorneys Conference a week or so ago. Got a lot of good information in terms of legislative updates and things like that, so I'm combing through the notebook full of info I got, and we'll try and parse that down into something that makes sense so I can update everybody in terms of the things that are relevant and make sense for everyone to know about. But other than that, I don't have anything this evening. But again, happy to be with everyone as always, and happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Okay, thank you, Grant. City manager items.
No, I just wanted to shout out Brad and Cliff. The events, I guess that was Wednesday night, right? Was it Wednesday or was it Tuesday?
Tuesday night.
It was Tuesday, yeah. Pretty significant there. We've had hurricanes that have knocked out the system when we responded to a long time, but this was definitely a catastrophic event where lightning struck the transmission switch, and that then caused 3 subdivisions to go, or substations to go offline. So great response by Brad and his team, especially the we're talking substation guys to work with Duke and get that back up. And then whenever you have a catastrophic event, the public works crews are always going around doing the lift station rodeo, getting the generators out and making sure that we don't have wastewater overflows and that kind of stuff. So just really proud of the guys that did a great job.
Thank you.
And on final note, I gave the commission periodic updates. As of right now, all 3 transformers are back up at East Substation, so that's a good thing. Brad is breathing a little bit easier. We're basically down now. The final fix is that is a dual-fed substation. Most all of our substations have 2 feeds. That one has an east and a west feed. So the west feed is still down. It's fully energized. So we're in good shape, barring another catastrophic event. Typically, we don't see them back to back to back. We did in what was that? 2005 is when we saw back to back to back catastrophic events. So hopefully we won't be seeing that again.
Okay. Thank you. Roll call.
Commissioner Berry.
Yeah, I got a couple of things tonight. Number one, I want to give a shout out to the chamber and the breakfast they had for the teachers on Friday morning. That was fantastic. Location was excellent. Showcased our mall. It looked really good. Shout out to the mall people for their work, and it looked like everybody had a good time. I know Mayor Peterson and I slung some eggs and had a good time out there with them. So that was a lot of fun. We did have an issue with customs at the airport. Something not being done exactly right, and they needed it redone. Did that get resolved? Do we know anything about it? Like the customs building, I read you guys' minutes from a month ago, and it was supposed to be resolved.
Some things that passed inspection, so.
Yeah, but it hasn't been.
We haven't got an update yet. We'll have an update by Thursday.
Okay. And that's also with the main ramp. There's no asphalt or something. The resurfacing is having problems, or. Yeah.
They did phase B, and then they paused the project again because we the last time she called me Monday and said it's been paused again because they can't find asphalt again. So.
Wow. So there was some mention in there, something about 170 days, like.
So per the
is that like if the project's not done, funding? Do we have problems then, or something?
That's going to be an act of God issue, and the contractor will probably argue whether or not it is a liquidated damage. So, and it is. I mean,
a to be seen thing is what we.
Yeah, and the bottom line is there's no asphalt, so
right,
it's an issue.
And this is CW Roberts, the contractor. I mean, they're legit. They've been around forever. They're not one of these fly-by-night people, which
and I understand that. I just want to know where it was going.
And CW Roberts is having trouble finding asphalt.
Yeah, right. Yes, so that tells you this.
You got, and this is CW Roberts is Popcat's having trouble finding asphalt. It's getting to the point where FDOT's seriously talking about changing some of their specs to let different rock in the mix. Wow.
That's all. Anything else? Okay.
Commissioner Roebuck.
Speaking of DOT, today in my capacity as chair of the MPO, I attended a meeting with the District 5, which is our district chair, along with Mike Woods of the local MPO here, just to talk about kind of all of our District 5 priorities. But we did speak about the Leesburg project and the importance and how long that's been on there. That's the widening of 441. Hopefully we'll be seeing some funding on that this year. Another thing that came up is as we were talking about the Complete Streets project, which we had the presentation recently on Main Street. They mentioned that those are really trying to piggyback those on resurfacing. And of course, Main Street just was resurfaced by the county. And it's not, which being a county road wouldn't matter anyways, that wouldn't fall under their thing. But there are a lot of grants. There's like, I don't know, 235, Mike was saying, that are open as part of this infrastructure bill that would possibly apply. So I don't know. I know we don't have like a full-time grant writer, but we may want to look, especially given the area that Main Street project is. There are a lot of kind of equity-based projects, and we might fall in some of those buckets. So I think it'd be wise for us to look out at a grant on that and see if there's anything in the infrastructure bill that does apply to us. And that's it.
Commissioner Connell.
Just one thing. I spoke to you, I think maybe about 6 months ago, Al, on the possibility of having a automatic notification through text for utilities for the customers when we have power outage like Duke and Seco have. I mean, I just think it'd be a great thing, and I know you said you were going to get with Tino, but I don't know that you ever got back with me.
Let me get back with Tino. We have a little bit of that, and the bottom line is that's going to be a software and a money issue. Pretty significant too, but let me get a better answer and I'll get back to you.
It's a great customer service thing. I mean, I'm on Duke where I'm at, and when power goes out, I mean, they immediately notify you, and they kind of already give you a time frame, stops you from having to worry, do they know my power's out or not? Because they're acknowledging they know it's out. So it is a good customer service thing. So yeah, if you could check with Tino on that.
Mayor Peterson.
Nothing tonight. So meeting adjourned.